Good afternoon, Kitchissippi. It is Saturday, September the 6th. This is a video version of the 447th Kitchissippi Weekly Ward newsletter. There is lots more information about all the topics that we'll discuss in the newsletter in the weekly email, to which you can subscribe at kitchissippiward.ca. I think I've got a pretty full one today. I'll try to keep it brief, but jumping right in with a note that on Monday, September the 8th, I expect that the city is going to release the third and final draft of the comprehensive zoning bylaw for public consultation. The key change that I think many of you will have read about in the media is the proposal to allow for a uniform 3-story limit across the city for residential buildings. Outside the Greenbelt in the suburbs, they already have that 3-story limit. Inside the Greenbelt, in the urban areas, there is, in our least dense zones, often an 8.5 meter height limit. The proposal is to allow for 3 stories across the board. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't understand why there would be a different height limit inside and outside the Greenbelt, particularly when we want people to be able to live in neighborhoods like ours that are close to amenities like transit and shops and all that good stuff. So take a look at that proposal when the third draft comes out. We'll be voting on that in December. Council will vote on it in January. I'm going to host pop-up office hours on September the 16th. That is going to be at Westboro Books, which is at 314 Richmond Road. That's Tuesday, September the 16th from 3 until 6 p.m. Pop-ups are an opportunity to come by, chat with me one-on-one without appointment anytime during those hours about whatever's on your mind. I hope I see you there. I am at Tunney's Pasture, obviously, where the application by the feds to create a plan of subdivision for this campus in view of eventually redeveloping it is now complete and online. I'll be hosting a public open house. My office is trying to decide exactly where and when that is going to be, but that application for a plan of subdivision is now online. It is a giant document. I've got links in the newsletter to the documents that you are probably going to be most interested in: the planning rationale, the transportation impact assessment, and the landscape concept. It is a lot of information to digest, but essentially what the feds are proposing is what they've talked about for many years now and have been consulting on, which is a dense mixed-use community. There is some land that has been earmarked for a larger park. There is land that has been earmarked for schools. There is a landscaping plan that shows how the green spaces and the public realm spaces are going to be done. This is a very early application by the feds towards that redevelopment. The plan of subdivision doesn't get very far into the weeds. It basically lays out the campus in a series of blocks with a high-level concept of what those blocks are going to be, a mix of residential and commercial and office space, and the road network that goes through it. But it is a very important step towards achieving the eventual redevelopment of this huge opportunity for city building. Take a look in the newsletter for all of those links. The Committee of Adjustment on September, I think it's the 17th, doesn't have any applications on it for that hearing, so there's nothing in Kitchissippi. But I just wanted to note that their decisions are from now on going to be posted to the CanLII site. That's a portal of legal record in Canada in which legal decisions are issued. If you want to go find a particular decision attached to a particular property, you'll be able to find it on the CanLII site. I will still get all of the notices of decisions from the Committee of Adjustment, and I'll continue to distribute those in my weekly email newsletter. I have posted new housing numbers. Just as soon as I posted the last batch when I got back from vacation, the new batch came out. I had the July numbers online. Housing completions were slow in July, but the number of units that are currently under construction in the city is higher than it has ever been. And there was a really banner month for starts as well. So some good news in that housing tracker. We'll see whether those develop into a trend. The 10-year housing and homelessness plan is up for a refresh. That is currently out for public consultation. I have links in the newsletter to where you can find that information. There are a series of open houses. There are going to be public in-person open houses on Wednesday, September the 17th at Jim Durrell Rec, but there is also one that's going to be on Thursday, September the 18th in the evening at the Tom Brown Arena. So if you're interested in how we're going to refresh our 10-year housing housing and homelessness plan. Now that we're at the midpoint of that, you might be interested in attending that in-person session that's going to be on September the 18th. There's also a citywide online consultation that will be held on the 25th. I have information in the newsletter about how you can register for that. The budget directions, that is the set of instructions that Council gives to staff for how to develop the budget for the 2026 budget, were voted on last week at our Finance Committee meeting. I voted against those. It does propose a 3.75% tax increase. Most city services would get 2.9. I've put up a small video with a link in the newsletter where you can see my reasons for voting against that. But the budget directions don't give us any indication that 3.75/2.9% budget or target tax cap is going to give the city the resources they need to provide the services that you deserve and expect, with a lot of implications for that. So I have a link to that video explaining my reasoning in the newsletter. There is a call for concepts that my office has put out to repaint the underpass at the north end of Churchill leading to Westboro Beach. That needs to be redone. I have funding to repaint it, and we've put out a call for artists to provide us with their concepts. Instructions on how to participate are in the email. In the community, this is fun. The Westboro Region Food Bank is going to be the recipient of funds from a community lunch and auction of Whispers Pub memorabilia. All that memorabilia that you saw at Whispers Pub, it's available for auction. That's going to be held on September the 20th. I've got more information in the newsletter about how you can register to take part in that. There is going to be another round of the popular climate fresque workshops at Dovercourt. If you search on the Eventbrite site for Climate Fresque, you'll find details of that. These are a set of workshops that talk about how you can make a difference addressing climate change. The Flowers for Food is coming up. That is a fundraiser that is being done with the community, the Westboro Community Association, the Westboro Region Food Bank, and Samurai Ikebana Studio. They've teamed up to offer a workshop in Japanese floral art that's going to be held on September the 27th from 10 until 2 p.m. at the Westboro Legion. There's a suggested donation to take part of $20. Taste of Wellington is coming up. That is going to be on September the 20th. I haven't even tried in the newsletter to describe all of the activities and installations that are a part of that very popular event. There is a link to the Taste website on the Wellington West BIA website. I did just want to quickly note that Enviro Center is offering free bike parking. That'll be in the Ottawa West Community Support parking lot. That is at 1137. But there is food, there's demonstrations, there's activities, there's live music, 10 until 6, all up and down Wellington West. Details are on the BIA website. I provided a link to that in my website, in my newsletter. The Hintonburg Community Association is hosting its annual general meeting on September the 25th. That will be in the evening at the community center, as always, 1064 Wellington West. The doors open at 6:30. The meeting begins at 7. I have instructions in the newsletter for how to make sure that you have a vote at that community association meeting for Hintonburg coming up. There will also be an option to listen in on Zoom, but it won't be interactive. You wouldn't be able to vote. So I'll look forward to seeing you at the Hintonburg Community Center on September the 25th. The Abbeyfield House, that's the delightful home that's at the corner of Parkdale and Wellington. It provides affordable housing for seniors, is doing a fundraising walk. I have more details in the newsletter. It's going to be on September the 20th at 10 a.m. They are looking to raise about $15,000 in order to be able to continue their operations and enhance their operations. Consider a charitable donation for which a tax receipt would be provided on September the 20th. There's information about how to get in touch with them on the website. Committee work is extremely busy at the moment. The Built Heritage Committee is going to meet on Tuesday, September the 9th. They've got a bunch of files to consider, a couple of them in our ward. Notably, the Ottawa Mosque, which is just at the corner of Northwestern and Scott, we had proposed to designate the mosque as a heritage building with that protection. The mosque submitted a letter of objection to that. I want to thank the mosque leadership and city staff who met with me earlier this summer to sort of work through some of the objections they had, to provide them with the clarity and the reassurance that an expansion of that site, for example, into affordable housing, wouldn't be barred by a heritage designation. I think everyone is happy, and that should be a fairly quick discussion. We are also going to consider the notice of objection that was filed by the Archdiocese of Ottawa-Cornwall with respect to the St. Francois d'Assise Church, as well as another one of their churches in Orleans that we had proposed to designate. City staff have received the notice of objection. They are recommending that the Built Heritage Committee continue to vote in favor of heritage protection for that property. There are also going to be a demolition permit at 5897 Fernbank and designations at the former RCAF Officers Mess at 158 Gloucester, the Vernon Schoolhouse at 8682 Bank, and the Lozon House at 6654 Notre Dame. I've got a link to the committee agenda on which you can take a look at all of those documents. City Council is going to meet on September the 10th. For the most part, I think the agenda sees us confirming most of the recommendations that have come out of the committee process for the last week or so, notably including the recommendation by Planning and Housing Committee to approve the rezoning that was sought by 1657 Carling, 286 Tilbury for a 28-story mixed use there. There is also a motion to adjust councillors' salaries according to the average of an independently determined average of municipalities to which we compare, but I think this should be a fairly quiet meeting. The Transit Committee meeting, on the other hand, on September the 11th, I'm expecting a few fireworks. We'll get our usual updates on Stage 2 LRT, the transit operations, all that good stuff. I don't expect anything particularly contentious in there. But we're also receiving a report that is a response to a motion that was brought by Councillor Brockington, asking what the OC Transpo's plan is to restore bus reliability. That bus reliability continues to plague us. There's a 23-page response by OC Transpo that is, I think, a really comprehensive look at the challenges that face the bus system. Key right now is the lack of availability of buses. We're waiting for those to start rolling in at a quicker pace. And then on-street congestion is frequently a reason for buses that are late, that get canceled. On-street congestion is largely a matter of, one, making sure that we have a good bus service so that people get on it rather than adding to traffic. But there is also a need to prioritize transit on our roads, transit priority measures. So there is a discussion and analysis of that in the response that they've provided. There is also a response to an inquiry that was put forward by Steve Desroches about Line 2 service frequency, service hours, I guess. In that response, city staff have proposed that they could begin Line 2 service down in that south end much earlier than its current start time, but the trade-off would be 24-minute frequency on Sundays for Line 2. I think residents know after my motion on the Line 1 service reduction that I don't want to conflate the advantages of reliability and capacity. Reliability is its own, frequency is its own thing. It's important in and of its own right, no matter what the capacity constraints are. I've chatted with OC Transpo senior leadership. They know my objection to doing this. I'm determining what my next steps will be, but I expect that will be an interesting discussion when the Transit Commission meets on September the 11th. The Audit Committee is going to meet on September the 12th. I'm particularly interested to see the results of an audit that they did into the development review process. Development review is the process by which usually developers apply for things like rezonings, and then staff put together reports for consideration by council and committee. So I'm really interested to see what they have to say there. There is also going to be reports on the city's risk management framework. We'll get an in-camera report on cybersecurity, and and there's also a report on staffing at the Ottawa Police Service. I expect that latter one will be carefully watched by many people. We know going into the budget that the police are going to be asking for a much higher budget number than they have in past. Staffing is the basis upon which they're going to do that. Many residents will want to take a close look at what the Auditor General had to say about staffing at the Ottawa Police Service. And then finally, the Environment and Climate Change Committee is going to meet on September the 16th. They have, I think, what is going to be a pretty headline-generating agenda. I haven't had a chance to read carefully the documents, only scanned them, but they do include reports on the 5-year tree canopy update. In our ward, Kitchissippi, we experienced a 1.9% decline in the tree canopy from 2017 to 2022. No surprise given the level of infill that we've seen. There's a report on expanding waste collection in our parks, including to 3 streams, so that's organics and recycling and garbage. There is an update on the transition of recycling collection from the city to independent producers. There is also an update on the climate change master plan. That includes the most recent inventory of greenhouse gases. There's some good news in that inventory. On a per capita basis, greenhouse gas emissions are declining. So every Ottawa resident is producing less greenhouse gases than they did 5 years ago, but our population is growing, and so greenhouse gases are rising. As I say, I haven't read that report carefully yet, but there are some really interesting numbers about the levels of greenhouse gases ascribed to things like transportation, that's the number of cars on the road, buildings, waste, and waste. So take a good look at that if you're interested in greenhouse gas emissions. All of those documents are on the committee agenda, to which I've provided a link in the newsletter. And then finally in the newsletter, I have a lengthy update on the most recent programming at the Rosemount Library. If you're a patron or a would-be patron of the Rosemount Library and the programming it offers, take a careful look at that. There's a little something in there for everyone. Kitchissippi, that's the newsletter this week. Have a great weekend. Thank you for watching.